What's going on, guys? John Elder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, we're going to start to build a match game with Tkinter and Python. Alright guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to start to build a match game. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. It's all my courses, videos, and books for one-time fee at just $49, which is insanely cheap. Okay, it is election day here in America. Very exciting. And I don't know if you can notice or not, but I knocked my head last night. I got a nice big gash on there. Kind of tried to cover it up a little bit, but it is very ugly. I apologize for that. You have to stare at that this whole video, but that's one of the perils of being tall. I'm 6'4", and I knock my head on things all the time. So in this video, like I said, we're going to start to build this match game. And you can see it's just a basic click a thing, tiles pop up. Oh, incorrect. We could try it again. 6, 2, 2, 2. Correct. It grays out. Now you can't press it anymore. And we just keep going like this. So you could change these out for images if you want. The classic children's game where you flip the tiles over and match. We're just going to do it with numbers to get started. And we might make this look a little nicer and put some bells and whistles. But in this video, we're just going to get started. It's probably going to take us a couple of videos to do this because it's not that complicated, but there's a lot of moving parts to this thing. So I've got a file called match.py. It's our basic Tkinter starter code that we always have. I'm using the Sublime Text Editor and the Get Bash terminal as always. So the first thing we need to do is sort of think this through. So I want 4 rows of 3, and you can have as many as you want, but there needs to be it needs to end in 2. So we need either 16, 18, 20, something that we can match and have doubles for, right? So 3 rows of 4, that's 12. That means we can have 6 numbers and they double, and then there's a match for each one, right? So pick whatever you want and it really doesn't matter. And we're just gonna use buttons for this. You can probably use other things as well, but buttons make sense to me. So to get started, let's create our matches. I'm gonna call them matches. And I'm going to create a Python list. I'm going to call it matches. And inside of here, I'm just going to pair these up. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and 6, and 6. So we have 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs, 4 pairs, 5 pairs, 6 pairs. So we can put one of these numbers on each of the buttons, and we can have 12 buttons, right? So this will give us a list of these numbers, but every time this thing starts, we want to shuffle this list so that each button gets a different number each time, right? So let's first, let's import random up at the top here. So let's go import random, and we've used random a lot of times in the past for different things. So here, let's shuffle our matches, and we can just call random.shuffle and then pass in matches. And let's just print this out and see what happens after we do this. So let's save this and run it. This is match.py. So let's go Python match.py. When we do, nothing happens, but when we exit out of here, we can see it's been shuffled to 1, 2, 5, 5, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 1, 6, 6. If we run this guy again, we get nothing, but when we close it, now you can see it's been shuffled to a different set of numbers, right? So now we could just assign each of these guys to our buttons and we're good to go, right? So let's start to do that. We don't need to print this out every time. So let's define our buttons. And I'm just going to call these B0 through B11. And the reason why I'm going to start at 0 instead of 1, and B stands for button, obviously, because we're going to use this Python list, and Python lists start at 0. So we're going to assign the 0th item of our list to our B0 button. We're going to assign the first item, the 1th item, to our B1 button, and so on. You'll see what I mean in a second. So this is going to be a button, and let's put this in my_frame, which we haven't created yet, so we'll do that in a second. And let's set the text equal to nothing, and I put a blank space in here. And for fun, let's just give this a font equals Helvetica, and make it really big, so like size 20. We also want to give the buttons themselves a good decent size. So let's go height equals 3 and width equals 6 to make them nice and big. And then we're ultimately going to want to give this a command equals something, and I'll just put something for now. We'll change this in a second. So let me copy this and let's make 10 more of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh boy, that was fast. And let's just come down here in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think we're going to need another one. 11. So let's count these here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we've got 12 of these guys. And I mentioned a frame, so let's create a frame real quick here. Let's create button frame. And you don't necessarily have to do this. I'm going to call it my frame, and that's going to be a frame. We want to put it in root. And then let's go my underscore frame dot pack. Give this a pad Y of like 10 just to push it down the screen a little bit. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want all these buttons to be gridded, but I want to put it all in the center, and a packing will do that. So I'll pack them into a frame that itself is going to be packed and centered, and then these will be automatically centered because of that. So you don't have to do that, but this is just going to make it a little bit easier. So now let's grid our buttons. So let's go b0.grid. And we want this to be row equals 0, column equals 0. And again, we're going to need 12 of these. So it should be number 0. There we go. So let's go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then come through here again and just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know this is tedious. I apologize, but you know, 10. That's how we do it. So this is going to be, let's knock these out into fourths so it's just easier to keep track of them all. Oops. So column 0, 1, 2, 3. Column 0, 1, 2, 3. And column 0, 1, 2, 3. And now these are just going to be row 1, 1, 1, 1, and 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, so let's save this and run it, see if we made a mess of this or not. I feel pretty good about it so far, though, don't you? Oh, nope. Something is not defined. We've got that function up there that we created at the end of here, dummy function. So let's just define that real quick. Define something, and let's just pass. Okay, so now let's run this and see how it looked. Okay, so we've got a nice set of buttons here. 3 rows of 4, and things are looking good. We've got some space down here for some other buttons and labels and things if we want. And okay, it's looking generally pretty good. So now let's head back here and let's work on this. So every time a button is clicked, we want to run a function. And we need to pass a couple of things into that function. So instead of just the regular command, we're going to have to use a lambda here. So lambda and colon. Now, again, this kind of looks like a capital L. It's not. It's a lowercase l. I hate when Sublime does that, but it always does that. So I'm going to call this button underscore click. And we want to pass a couple of things. First, we want to pass the button itself. So B0, which is just what we name this thing. Right? So we're going to pass the button into the function. So that's kind of cool. We've done this before when we did the tic-tac-toe game a while back. If you didn't check out that video, check a link in the comment section below for the playlist and check that out. It's kind of cool. So we also want to pass a number, right? So this is B0's number is going to be 0. B1's number is going to be 1. B2's number is going to be 2, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, let's come through here and just really quickly pop this in. I should have probably done this at the beginning, but this is pretty easy. We'll just do this real quick. And again, remember, these are all lowercase l's. And now we can just come through here and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And same thing with the numbers. We want to change these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is very exciting, isn't it? Oh, it's boring. It's election day, though. We do boring things on election day. Okay, so now we've got this button click function, and we need to kind of create that. So instead of calling this something, let's call this button click. And let's call this a function for clicking buttons. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Well, we need to let the user click 2 buttons, right? We only want them clicking 2 buttons at a time, well, they can click more later, but in each sort of turn, let's call it, they get to click 2 buttons. So we need to keep track of those buttons. So up here, let's define some variables. Now let's set count equal to 0. And I'm also going to create another Python list called answer list and set that equal to a blank Python list. And I'm also going to create an answer dictionary and set that equal to an empty dictionary. Now inside of here, let's call global for those 3 things. Make them global so they can work inside and outside of this function. So count, let's call it answer list and answer dictionary. Okay, so we've got this function, and when we called this here, we passed in the button itself and a number. So we need to be looking out for those things in our function. So up here, I'm going to call this B for the button, and the number, we'll call it number, right? So now we can access these 2 things. So when our buttons, when the game first starts, the buttons are blank, and when we click on them, we want to change them to whatever that number is that's sort of hidden in that number. And those hidden numbers are going to come from these shuffled matches up here. But first we need to deal with clicking on the button. So let's go if B, which is this guy right here, which we passed in here, right? So B0 is button 0, which becomes B. So if B button 0, now if the text from that equals nothing, because we set it at nothing to begin with. Remember when we defined it, we set the text to nothing, just this blank line. So we can do an if statement to say, hey, if the button is currently nothing, and let's say if the count is less than 2, right? Remember our count, it starts at 0. So the first time we click a button, count is still 0. So 0 is definitely less than 2, and the thing is definitely empty, right? So if that's the case, then let's say B text, and this should be text, not texts, not plural, right? Equals, let's call matches and pass the number in. So what's this matches? Up here, we set our matches variable thing. So to call a list in Python, we would call like matches 0, right? This will return the 0th item, or this one. Well, in this case, it's been shuffled, so we don't know what the 0th item is. If we want to know what the 8th item is, we would put matches 8. Well, we're passing in a number down here, right? So if we click 0, if we click the 0th button, right, it's going to pass the number 0, right? So that 0 then becomes matches 0, or what would be this? Well, it's not that because that's been shuffled, right? But you get the idea, right? So we're calling the Python list, right, and setting that button to that number. So let's save this and run it and see if that kind of worked. We've got this, and boom, 2, 6, 3. When we click this, they're at least appearing now. So that's cool. This one's not appearing, so there must be an error here. So this is going to be, well, let's just see here. No error listed here. Well, what do we do? Button 11. Little typo there. Okay, that's a nice catch. But now at least we know when we click these things, the number that it is will appear. And that's cool. Now we also need to keep track of that, right? So, hey, that's been clicked. How do we do that? Well, we've got these answer list and an answer dictionary. And let's append it to this answer list, right? So let's go answer underscore list dot append. And then what do we want to pass in? We want to pass in that number that we passed in. So if we're clicking the 3rd button, we want to append 3 to our little answer list here, right? We also kind of want to keep track of the B, right? So I'm also going to create a dictionary. This is probably, one of these is overkill. We could probably get away with just using the answer dictionary for this, but I also want to use an answer list for this, and I'll explain why in a little bit. It'll become obvious. So at the same time, let's call answer dictionary and set B equal to matches : number. And that's just this guy right here, right? So whatever random number that is underneath the tile, the button, we're just assigning the button and that number to this dictionary, right? So this dictionary will look like this. It'll be like B0, 0. And then if we click another one, it would be like B4, well, that number is 4. Or whatever that number is, right? Which has been randomized up here, right? It's kind of hard to follow probably, but just trust me on this, right? So, okay, now we also probably need to increment our counter. So let's go count plus equals 1. Okay. And let's do some commenting here. Add number to answer list. And here let's add button and number to answer dictionary. Why are we doing that? Because we need to keep track of these things so that we can see later on, hey, did the 2 buttons I click, do they equal, right? So, okay, if B equals nothing and count is 2, then do some stuff. And every time we do it, the counter increments. So where are we at so far? Let's save this and run it and see what that did. So we can click this one and this one. Well, look, they match. Now when I click other things, nothing's happening. Why? Because our counter has incremented to 2. We clicked 2 buttons. And our code here says, hey, only do all this stuff if the counter's less than 2. The counter is now 2, so it's not going to do anything, right? So now we've got a couple of things we can play with. We can play with the counter here. We can say, hey, if the counter's 2, do something. We've also got this answer list, and it should have 2 things in it here, right? The last time we clicked 1 and 1, it should have, this list should be 1 and 1. And in fact, let's print this out just to see. So let's print our answer list. Save this. So we get 4 and 6. And you can see it has 0 and 1 in here because, let's run this again. I clicked the 0th and the 1th tile. So the answer list keeps track of what tiles we clicked, not the answers themselves necessarily, right? So we clicked 0 and 1. So we get 0 and 1. If we run this again and I click this one and this one, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. These are buttons 8 and 9. So down here, it should say 8 and 9. So answer list shows us the tiles we've clicked, right? Now we can take those and determine what the answer is because we can call, remember, I know this is complicated. We could call matches 8, for instance, to get what number that is for the answer if we wanted to. Okay, so that's answer list. Let's now look at answer dictionary and see what that's returning. So we can click 4 and 1. And you can see it's returning a Python dictionary with the button object, and this is the button object, right? The button itself, B, whatever, and then 4. Here, the button object, and then 1, right? If we click this one and this one, it's not returning like our list. It's not returning the tile numbers. It's returning the actual answer. So 6 and 3, not 0 and 1, right? Okay. I know this is a little complicated and there's a lot of moving parts in this and it's election day and my thinking isn't as clear as it should be, but hopefully you can follow along with what we're doing here. So now we can start to determine correct or not. All right, so we've got this answer list and we've appended 2 things to it. So let's run an if statement. Let's determine the length of our answer list. If our answer list has 2 items in it, we know we've clicked 2 things. We could also use count for this, but we're gonna be filling with count later on. So instead I'm gonna use the length of this list. And we've got it and it's easy. So we can call the len function and we can just pass in our answer underscore list. Now we're saying if the length of our answer list equals 2, then let's do some stuff. Now let's try and figure out if the two things we clicked matched, right? So first, before we do that, let's come down here to the very bottom and let's create a quick label. I'm gonna call this my label. And it's gonna be a label. We wanna put it in root. We want the text to equal nothing. And let's my underscore label dot pack. Give this a pad Y of 20 to push it down the screen a little bit. So we've got this label down here, my label, and we can put some output to it when we need to. So we come back up here. So if our answer list has two things in it, we've clicked on two tiles, then let's see if the two answers match. So we know we've got the answer list has the tile we've got, and then we can take that tile number and put it into our matches list here to get the actual answer itself, right? So we can go let's go matches. Now what matches? Well, we have our answer underscore list, and we want the first item in our answer list. Remember, this answer list returns two items, and the first item is item number 0. The second item is item number 1 because lists start at 0. So we're going to say if that first number equals matches answer underscore list and the first item, right? So if those two things match, then let's mylabel.config and set the text equal to match for now, right? And we probably also need to set the count to 0 at this point because we've got a match, right? We also probably need to change our answer list back to nothing. And we should probably change our answer dictionary back to nothing as well. Reset everything. Why? We've got a match, so reset everything, right? You got a match. Throw up match, reset everything. So let's save this and run it, see what this looks like. Will we get a match? 5 and 2? No. But now it's all been disabled because it's not been matched. So, okay, let's do this again. 6 and 4, let's do it again. 5 and 2, might take us a while. 6 and 6. Nothing happened here. So we've done something wrong. We got an error here. So, okay, what did we do? Line 49, line 42. No, it should be text match. I did that again. Okay. Let's save this again, run it again, pull this over, 1 and 5, 6 and 4, 1 and 1. All right, so now it says match, right? So we've configured this to where it says match. Now we can keep going at this point, but these two need to be disabled. We shouldn't be able to click on these again if they match. Right, so let's work on that. So underneath here, now we've got our answer dictionary. It has both the labels and the match. So it has the button number, and the match number. So we can loop through there and pull out the keys for each one of those. So let's go for key in answer underscore dictionary. We want to go key, whatever that button is, because dictionaries are key value pairs. And in our dictionary, we've set the key to be the button and the value to be the answer. So we're saying, hey, whatever the key is, that's the button. So if we click B0, this key right now will be B0. Now we can configure the button by calling key and then anything we want. So we want to set the state of this button to disabled. Okay, so that should work. Let's go ahead and save this and play with this one more time. So 1 and 2. 5 and 1. It'll happen. 3 and 6. What else do you have to do today but watch me click buttons over and over again? 2 and 4. Come on, you can do it. Bound to get lucky here eventually. 3 and 3. Boom. And you can see now they've been grayed out, right? Which is cool. We can't click them anymore, and it says match down here. And we can continue on, and that didn't work. So, okay. So we've got pretty much the functionality in place to deal with when we get it right? Otherwise, so let's go, if these matched, do all this stuff, we can go else, do something else. So let's go my_label.config and set the text here equal to dope or whatever. Now, again, we need to set now the count to 0. We need to set our answer_list back to nothing. And now let's pop up a quick message box that says you got it wrong or something, right? Just something to sort of show us that we haven't gotten the right answer. So let's go pop up box. And this is going to be a message box. And let's go show info. And I'm just going to say incorrect. And for the text, we'll also say incorrect. And we've done message boxes a lot in the past. So to use this guy, we got to import it, right? So let's go from Tkinter, import message box. Okay, that should work. So after this gets run and we click OK or whatever, now we need to do the same thing we did up here, and sort of flip the tiles back over, make them blank again. So let's say reset the buttons. All right, so let's go for key in answer dictionary. We zeroed out our Python, our list, but we didn't zero out our dictionary yet. So we can go here, key text, and we can set that equal back to nothing. And then once it's cycled through both of those, let's reset our answer dictionary back to nothing. So, okay, I think that should do the trick. Let's go ahead and save this and run it. We could also set this into a different function if we wanted to. And we'll just do it right here for now. It should be fine. And we're printing all this stuff out to the screen. Let's get rid of that real quick. Where did we do that? Right here. I don't think we need to do that anymore. Okay. So let's clear the screen, run this guy again. Okay, so 4 and 3, incorrect. Says, there's dough down here. 6 and 1, incorrect. 2 and 3, 3 and 3, match. 4 and 4, match. 1 and 6, 2 and 6, 6 and 6, match. 5 and 1, 5 and 5, 2 and 2, 1 and 1. Now we need to set some functionality in here to determine, hey, the game's over, right? We haven't done that yet. We can make this look a little nicer. We could do all kinds of fun stuff with this, but man, this video is getting very long and we went over this very, very quickly. So, some of this stuff I might not have explained very well, some of this list and dictionary stuff. Spend some time looking through here and trying to figure out exactly what I did and why. If you still don't quite understand it, shoot me a message in the comment section below. We'll talk about this more in the next video as we spruce this up and do some bells and whistles for this thing. But in a nutshell, that's a very quick way to do it. Now, there's probably 1,000 ways to do a match game. Like I said, I knocked my head on a thing last night, so I'm not thinking quite clearly this morning. There's probably better ways to do it than this, but this works and it's not too bad. This code's a little sloppy, but not too bad. Interesting things here are the shuffle. We did that. And really, it's all kind of straightforward after that. And a lot of fun. So that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off memberships. It pays just $49 to access all my courses, over 47 courses, hundreds of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 100,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from Codemy.com, and I'll see you in the next video.